get there, though. It ain't an easy ride. Everybody don't make it. It's a slow process for a lot of us. Damn! Check me out. Light boss. Cloud one. Light boss. I can begin to doubt this, but when you in the first dimension, you gotta make sure you're not too selfish. And you cannot be one-track minded. Ego be making you come back blinded. Zero to spirit realm, that's where it's warfare. And the souls gon' come as tyrants. Cloud two. Make sure it's relative, but you start thinking you better than half of the people that you think ain't equal. Adding your measurements for a big detriment. You learn your lesson, bitch. If you overreach your boundaries where you ain't capable, a super saver hoe. Whatever that you do, just make sure that it be relatable. Cloud 3, where people get lost in the world and never come back. They think they be moving forward, but some spirit to their head and neck made it stand on their back. Hand me a match, give me a candle with a crystal, please invest some of these. You live in a triangle, idea, problem, and solution. Nigga, death come in threes. Cloud 4. You thinking too much, you done put yourself right in the box. Straight from the bottom, straight from the dirt. Why you keep thinking you right on the top? Looking so programmed, looking sucked in to the second place. What'd you say? Can't even hear yourself, you done lost yourself. Someone else got you for the day. Damn. We in the sky, I'm smoking on Gematria, numerology, all day. We in the sky, I'm smoking on la 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 la. Gematria, numerology, all day. Cloud 5. Now what are you gonna do? Are you gonna react, make a 5 point just like the water do? Connecting everything that we see in front of us just like your mama do. All we see is vibrations and colors, got me picturing a carnival, oh yeah. Cloud 6, don't get caught in the mix, caught in some shit. Fucking with somebody, baby daddy, baby mama and shit. I will admit, it was just sex. I tied her up pussy, then caught her the grip. The powder just slip right on my ass, right in the past. So often I drift. Cloud 7. How can I make it to heaven when angels are stressing? The wake up people getting straight disrespected. I'm trying my best not to flame out the weapon. Archangel Uriel with the flaming sword on the west, and he ain't to be messed with. Can't enable left to stay with a message. You ain't even get it. Cloud 8 spirit spending time in witchcraft, doing rituals with rabbis. People really love to study, so all depends if you have time. You ain't got none for yourself. You done got drained by a vampire, a black hole for a universe. It really just look like a campfire. It's like we in the sky, I'm smoking on la 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 la. Gematria, numerology, all day. We in the sky, I'm smoking on la 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 la. Gematria, numerology, all day. It's cloud, yeah. It's cloud, yeah. Let's cloud again. Let's fly, boss, yeah. Yeah. Gematria, numerology, all day. We in the sky, I'm smoking on la 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 la. Gematria, numerology, all day.
talk, you just get into some science and knowledge and esoteric classes, spirituality and formation. And what is mental health exactly? You know what I'm saying? What is mental health exactly? Some don't know where to go in the Planet Fitness world. It's the LAX in the spiritual world. It's a Planet Fitness in the spiritual world. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of these places in the spiritual world, regardless of what you may think you are physically. You could be the most well-shaped, well-oiled running machine caricature running around on earth right now. Your mind is fat. Your mind is lazy. I mean, your mind's so fat to have a hard time thinking and breathing. You know what I'm saying? Don't like to take the next 5 breaths. You know what I'm saying? So that exhausted. Yeah, you need goddamn marshmallow, graham cracker, s'mores, 24/7. You know what I'm saying? Hey, be careful of the fruit that you're eating in the spiritual world. You know what I'm saying? Hey, food for thought. Food for thought. Yeah, we gonna get it. A lot of people eat bullshit. Parental advisor at the beginning. You know what I'm saying? That. Do you believe in magic? You don't believe in magic. You don't believe in it. Do you believe in magic? You might after this live stream. You just might. You just might. You know what I'm saying? Hey, McDonald's, where my $1 million check? That's be the last time you ever get. You know what I'm saying? The last time you ever get anything on YouTube, unless it's your sponsored commercial, you paid YouTube to have on it. Oh, that's it. That's it. I've been keeping 100. We go get spiritual. Get spiritual. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want people to get the wrong idea either, because people will be thinking certain things are pseudo and stuff like that. I make things reality, so you can't debunk it, and it should be in somebody's science class. It should be in somebody's science class. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm saying quick promotion. I'm saying quick promotion. Oh, I'm saying quick promotion. Quick promotion. You know what I'm saying? Unsorry promotion. What? 2006 looking up. 2006 about to be this new. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. Y'all better be following. Hey, pray towards the east. We're gonna break down why is that possible. We're gonna break down why is that a thought form. Not just because the sun thought somebody rolls on the east 6 o'clock. Somebody coming on your left. East 6 o'clock. No, not just that. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of other stuff going on too that y'all just don't be paying attention to life. There's a whole lot of things that just for you to be you, there's a process, there's a mechanism. Then you woke up, then you went to sleep, then you out your mind, you still you. Ain't using your stuff you created that you inside of, like your first body, your mind, and your body. You out your mind, but you still got your representations here to be like, look, that's why you ain't make up your mind right. Stupid decision making. Why you look, you in the halfway house with your body. You know what I'm saying? However the case it may go. I'm just pointing all those as examples. I don't want anybody in the halfway house or in jail to be like, oh, this is a reason I failed God or whatever. No, don't think like that. Don't think like that. You keep thinking like that and stuff like that. Your God ain't really a God. Your God, some man running around on earth that they'll say start jumping on boats and stuff like that. Oh, I'm saying. They got descendants and stuff like that. Descendants and stuff. Look up that word descendant. I said do your research on descendant and stuff. Y'all say y'all do your research on everything else and stuff. Y'all do some descendant and stuff. I'm saying you got the astrology version of it, sun descendant. You know what I'm saying? Sun fall, like fall in Libra or so. You got the reprobate lesser, yeah, it's not God's versions, humans and stuff. You got them versions stuff. Descendant. Do your research on descendants and stuff. Descendant. I'm saying. Y'all learned a lot, man. Y'all learned a lot if y'all do research on the right things. Y'all won't be in, even if we want to talk about respiration. Hey, we about to get, the whole argument is you trying to get some money being a descendant of somebody else's descendants. I'm saying, once you learn descendant, man, a lot of weird arguments will leave your mind and stuff, a lot of frustration. You will get your ass up. You will go get about 10 jobs or something like that if you can't do your mind right. Because we're going to get in the mind. You can use your mind. You can use less of your physical, well-oiled running machine, knuckle caps and stuff like that just to knock a nigga out. That's the only reason that you pick up atomic heart. That's it. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, you know what I'm saying? You be other stuff, put together stuff. You know what I'm saying? Be a sufficient man, young man, a boy growing up to be a young man for your aunties, your mothers, you know what I'm saying? Your grandmothers and stuff like that. Real stuff. Real stuff. So I just want to put y'all in the game. It's about the mind, but you always want to get that new idea that you don't currently got. And then when you out of thoughts, you get depressed, constructed in the less percentage scale of the thoughts you already have. And if you don't want to believe the mind is condensing and become all the fleshly fluids, the mind condense, become the wind, the breath, the neurons, the fleshly fluid, the organs, the adrenalines, the marrow and all that stuff. So when you lack thought, eventually you're going to lack breath. You're going to lack wind. You know what I'm saying? I can't breathe. God, please save me. Why I'm going through this right now? I can't make it. You're about to tear up and stuff like that. Look, all the condensing of the thought condensed to water. You know, stuff. We're going to break this all down because y'all don't know the birth, emanation, cloud, life, condense, deterioration, get ready to die, evaporate. That spirit that was inside that form get ready to go make another life, a new expansion or something like that. You think you don't do that? Last time I checked, life go in cycles, right? Like last time I checked, what goes around comes around, right? See, you just need to see that or hear that through your bias. You got to experience somebody robbing you or somebody taking something out of your purse and stuff because you left it around too many family members or friends or something like that. Or you're a man, you left your wallet out or something. You know what I'm saying? You left your bitch around the wrong family. Pardon my French. French came and colonized us, y'all. Sorry. Good French fries. Good French fries. But other than that, like I said, a lot of stuff going on and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And you don't be knowing what's going on. You got to formulate these things in your mind the right way. You know what I'm saying? You're getting close and stuff. You don't be knowing what's going on around the whole situation itself. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing. You're supposed to see what your first body is connected to, not just your second body. Your first body is your mind. So all spirits create their first body, their mentality. And within it, they emanate and create sons and daughters, a collection of ideas and feelings, and it mold into an emotion, the mind. So for the most part, your first body is lighter than the one that is condensing and fueling to produce, to experience at its deterioration and expiration stage. So as you're constantly emanating thoughts, right, you're around other souls, individual spirits. Spirits is a different term for multiple souls. And your first body is always connected with other people's bodies, and therefore that's what's emanating the external world that you think you see, that's being perceived, that we actually emanate from the inside out. So we're seeing a process of something light condensed into heavy, and that's showing you how you got here, how you became heavy, and how you came from something lighter to condense as heavy. And that process is spirit, the observer, emanating the mind, and the mind condense and become physical. And then once you're experiencing it, you think you're thinking it's linear. But it's not. It's a mechanism as a cycle, not you living through it and aging and it's linear and then after you die it's no more. That's dumb. So when you understand that, right, you're supposed to be able to see what you are connected to beyond the physical. So when you in your first body, your train of thought, you know, spiritually, you was in a certain space to develop that awareness, those collection of thoughts that other spirits was in, even if you're not around them physically. So you should be able to see who got the most percentage scale at the moment based upon the experience you're getting ready, all y'all are getting ready to craft. And even when you're not around individuals, you should also be able to see who's taking energy from you or attacking you to remove you from that space, so you can no longer be in that space emanating your original thought and create a world there that another spirit may think is hazard by your vibration being there along with theirs. And then in the physical, it just play out as someone don't want you around when they're around and stuff like that because they can't shine as much as you or something like that, and you might not be saying a thing. But when we break it down spiritually, I'm trying to help it make sense, so we don't say it's pseudo and it's something that you go through every day. And just because it's not something that we can weigh doesn't mean that it's not an experience that we have. And what I be breaking down is more experience you have throughout the day on a percentage scale than what you do in your science lab or however the case may be. And ain't nothing wrong with the science lab either. You know what I'm saying? Having this allows you to have more comprehension with whatever you're dealing with. Science, math, you know what I'm saying? Interacting with relationships, humans, or however the case may be. So you ain't always getting the short end of the stick on an extreme measure and things of that nature. So you always got something outside of you to point to be like, it could be worse. So whenever your depression start to happen, because we always had that cycle, just like spring, summer, fall, winter, Yahlahuè, Yahlahuè, or whatever the way the Jews call it, or the Jesuits, but for the most part, walk and talk. But however you experience your own daily cycle through your 12th house sector, right, and your anatomy and your zodiac alignment, or however the case may be, that's how you would go through your season of birth, life, deterioration, and death, particularly based on ideas you may have that condense and become adrenaline. You may give birth to a negative idea start to jump inside of that mind, your first body, give it more life, sons and daughters inside of it, more thoughts and feelings that condense as emotions and ideas and things of that nature. And then for the most part, you gave some deteriorated seed life that become an egg cell in your life and deterioration, and your spirit start to think, sense, and feel it's that. And you think you're deteriorating, you think you're failing, you think you're depressed, you think you're all over the place and things of that nature. Then you could be experiencing that realm that you made for yourself just due to the fact of not knowing how to make up your own mind. So for the most part, it'll bend in into the physical in your death portion of your body before it expires, but your flesh, walking blood cell, dead pieces, pardon me, right, will start to emanate those same results. So you will lack emanating lots of thoughts and feelings to become a lot of blood flow and adrenaline, and then only blood flow and adrenaline to do the things that lack of thought can create. Stuff to not do things with your body. And the best idea you probably got is being in the kitchen around sharp knives and stuff like that and looking at your wrist too long. But other than that, I don't want people to go down that far. You know what I'm saying? I want people to go around that far. Y'all start making me think y'all got coconut problems. You better get offline. You know what I'm saying? Real stuff, man. We been around people with real problems, and your problem, man. Problem. Tell you that right now. You ain't got no problem around people like me and the people. You know what I'm saying? Hey, don't get offline now. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Go breathe a little bit. So then you be okay. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you no more. Hey, I'm your next door spiritual best friend. For everybody down here on earth. It don't get no matter than that. I don't care where you at. You can be way in Asia. You gonna find me. White Man Made Online. So white man working with everybody as a team. So you can find me no matter what ethnicity you is. White Man Made Online. So everybody from everywhere can see everybody and stuff like that. You can be way in Asia right now. Get this spiritual sweat. You know what I'm saying? Get this spiritual sweat. It don't go no further than that. As long as we all helping each other in the mind, that's what it is. We can play games later. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing wrong with games either. Everybody can have fun. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, we still it's time for place for everything. Time, space, and spirituality. Now, let's get into Gaád is in a different mind frame than, you know, how you may break down and put and use is in your conversations and things of that nature. So Gaád is as is there as it what it is. So look at it like a location, not Gaád is this name. You see what I'm saying? Gaád is the place that the name of the cloud, Yeh or Yah, derived from and things. And then make many travels, and the travels themselves make sounds. And if you're spiritually inclined enough, you can, you know, based on your level of comprehension, the best you can, decipher. And ultimately, we get into sounds. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I just need you to understand the starting point before you think we getting ready to get into some prayer warrior stuff or whatever like that. Because like y'all talk a lot about stuff, except the stuff y'all see every day that your life is a part of. You know, clouds and water is your DNA or whatever. So if you see an evaporation in clouds or whatever like that, and you hearing humans start talking about what's a creator or whatever the case may be, they ain't talking about no creator that's right in front of all of us. They talking about something in their mind that they can't do though. It might take them thousands of years and still can't do it. So, you know what I'm saying? I got time to be wasting time like that. You know what I'm saying? So we got peak game. If you want to talk about something create, last time I checked, DNA was clouds. Last time I checked, clouds rain on certain geographical locations. Geographical locations, especially talk about continents, make certain animals and humans, or whatever the case may be. If that ain't a connection, I don't know what is. I ain't about to get lost in nobody else's sauce. Now, when I want to get into Gaád too, I know I put two ways there too to decipher, to separate it, right? Because I don't want people getting confused with Gaád in the Bible or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? Even though in certain aspects we could kind of look at these things as someone may have had some knowledge and added it to whatever that they had going on or whatever the case may be. But in a nutshell, when we just talk about Gaád itself, I want to talk about how we're talking about census and how we're breaking down geographical locations as far as verbal sounds in the first place that even represent our internal location. And then when we externally broaden that, we realize it's that physically also. So when we say, hey, that's closer to you, but east. So we know that center, once you just emanate, it create a left, forward, up circumstance. Once we start to decipher it, being within. something. But at the same time, what's this? Our mind and teamwork makes the dream work, the world. That's how we even coming up with directions. But these are just mechanisms of experiences that we're doing that don't have nothing to do with left, right, and up. And then when we concede or contract or condense, that considers to be right, down, and back. It really don't have anything to do with that. But these are things that we start to decipher if we want to piece out the mechanism. You see what I'm saying? Of what's actually going on. And this is how you get to its most general nature of it and things. So when you want to talk about just Abraham itself and things of that nature, I don't want this guy to get confused with Abraham and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, when you think about Abraham, let's separate that for a second. Abraham is just worshiping the idea as a caricature that you should leave your homeland and go claim someone else's land like it's promised to you. So that idea itself is the father of everyone who think like that. So whoever sat around and said this is a good idea, that became a generative principle. That became, this is what we all agreeing on. We all agree on leaving our homeland and claim another land and claim its promise. So you ain't gonna never find the actual floating God saying, I want you to do this as a manifested destiny, whatever you call it, or manifesto. You're just gonna have a collection of humans coming up with an agreed ideology. So when we think about the Abraham is just a word for a caricature that you're only going to see humans doing. You're going to see no animals doing or nothing like that. So for the most part, you're going to see the sky doing it, nothing. So for the most part, when you think about Abraham itself, just in its original context, before y'all get lost in folklore, for an example, right? Y'all might think, oh, I want to go back and read the old book. I found the Dead Sea Scrolls. Like, you fail to realize, what is a Dead Sea Scroll? A Dead Sea Scroll is what did humans used to write on? Scrolls. What is there considering a Dead Sea? A bunch of pirates who died on the sea. So whoever was trying to be pirates and stuff like that was going to be the only people sailing, and whatever that they was writing is the only thing that's going to be found on a scroll. So if you agree with if that's spring colonization and things of that nature, then that's the only reason you would think is important. Once you get into folklore and spookism and stuff like that, you're just getting lost and things of that nature. But the Dead Sea Scrolls, just who died in the sea traveling, trying to colonize other areas, was writing down. All right, now for the most part, like I said, Abraham is just the idea, the father idea of any individual who think leaving their homelands and going to claim another land that's promised to them, or whatever the case may be. So I want to separate Gaád from the Bible context, because y'all start getting lost into thinking, well, Gaád is the seventh son of is the son of Jacob, and Jake is the seventh son of Jacob, or whatever the case may be, and y'all don't even know how to read the Bible. So that'd be a whole nother live stream for me to get into, whatever, you know what I'm saying? So for an example, if I came up with a theology right now, this is Mishihapa world, or whatever the case may be, and I took over y'all astrology, so I would say Saturn is Mitsubishi's seventh son. You know what I'm saying? I would say Aries is Mitsubishi's first son. So Saturn is exalted in Libra, and the beginning of the year is Aries, is spring. I would say the first son is Mitsubishi's first son. So when you get in Abraham and you get in the first son being Hiram, or whatever the case may be, now you understand they're just talking about the beginning of spring. All right, now, but for the most part, like I said, so I don't want people to get confused, because people don't know how to read the Bible. But the Bible got a lot of people's culture in there that can break down certain things. So if you're just looking at it from a moral state point, all right, you're good to go. But when you start using it as an authority, or whatever the case may be, okay, you're going to hell, like a lot of other individuals who go extreme on that and stuff I don't want to talk about on this live stream. Now, for the most part, like I said, right? Now, there's a group of clouds on the east. Right now, it's considered the east, but this is once you're already spread out and we're within something and we're giving things directions. But we all have an internal east, but it's your center. You know what I'm saying? So to find the center is to go towards the east, and to go towards the east is just to emanate an original thought. So if you're already in a thought and you add it on to it, that's not original. You're just within something that have already started. So you could start something on your own right now that has less a percentage scale, or add on to something that was original that other people agree to the terms and conditions, but none of y'all are the intellectual owners of that property, however the case may be. But yet it's something that got a large percentage scale of relatable and sync energy that you can utilize for your organs to be relatable, your thoughts to be relatable, and how you live your life amongst others to be relatable. So for the most part, look at it like that. But for the most part, there's a group of clouds on the east that condenses to produce the sun. So just think about emanation for the first time. And once it starts to move, then you start to think if it's right or not. Once it go through that life process, and that would be north. You seeing it after you emanated east, you seeing it north, it transitioning right or west, and it falling or condensing, or you not caring so much or being excited enough about it anymore, like the original state, south. So look at it like that. Before we even make these physical representations, these are things that we make as a mechanism for it can even be to an experience. We create the experience first. You know what I'm saying? So awareness is our first body. When we emanate, that's awareness, and awareness is thoughts and feelings. You have an original one, idea, and you have an original emotion. And then you take this thought and this emotion and break them down and make them children and things of that nature. And that becomes ideas and feelings. So a collection of ideas and feelings can become an original thought and an original emotion, which will be the father and Lilith, or the father and mama, before we even emanate what we're considering the emanation on the hot cloud, the sun, and a reflection of it, the moon. And that center reminiscences of all the substances is what we're considering the emanation, creating the concept of reflection for you to see what the moon is. So the moon ain't something to land on. The moon ain't an object. There ain't no objects in space. We know how objects get made. A rock get broken down from mountains and stuff like that. So a mountain have to be built up in space, but can no rocks be created without a seasonal transition? So below zero, there's no such thing as a rock or an asteroid being able to exist within space. Space is a lighter aspect to condense with a more confined aspect that condense with a more confined aspect, which is why we got atmospheres for us to have this sweet spot that ain't no sweet spot the way NASA talking about it, that things can molt and take shape and form from its lighter stage to its heavier stage. Even when we see something light in general has its own light and heavy stage, but it's light in general, like clouds. Cloud condense and evaporate. We know a cloud ain't a rock though, but we see rocks deteriorate and mold. So same kind of situation. We see trees deteriorate. So that takes a transition for something to be, even for something to even have that process. So when we think about yay, right? Towards the east, yay, north, ha, west, ho, southwest, hu, southeast, he. So you got hey, ho, hu, he, hell, 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 hell. You know what I'm saying? So once you get that ring, you get your halo. You know what I'm saying? Then you can be Haël'Ho. You know what I'm saying? Not no hellhole, but you know what I'm saying? But that's me. That's my area, realm of reality and stuff like that. Don't drag yourself to hell. You know what I'm saying? Because when you absorb yourself in other people's mind, every spirit make their mind relative to their subjective space. And depending on how big and small a spirit is, you can get trapped in a big spirit and stuff. Now, I'm a huge spirit. A lot of y'all are trapped in forms of hell right now, like a Haël'Ho. So it'll be a spirit that doing things on its own. And let's say when it was alive and the thoughts it produced manifested a lot of mental experiences and physical experiences. If you on that train of thought, line of reasoning, spiritually, you in that space. Every time you go through those experiences, it feed off your fruit, because your fruit is similar to the fruit that it had as a mind state, but it can't make no body no more. It can't move on because it don't know how to make another mind state, another vibe or whatever. So you'll get caught in a space, you'll get warped in a certain space and be getting made out of a spirit. It'll be making you it. It'll be taking you through all the experiences it had, and it'll be experiences you can't even handle because them not your experiences. Yet you have to take your own experiences and then piggyback and protect yourself from them experiences too. And you be having double things happening to you. And then you can't explain it to other individuals, yet it's very apparent and stuff like that. So it's like you're doing something where that spirit is feeding, but it don't specifically single you out. And with that type of attention, it's just you're in the same area. For an example, you got to look at it like this. We see these examples in reality, right? So this is reality though, but you could be planting something that you eat that also an animal eat. Y'all got totally different mind states or whatever. You ain't thinking about the animal when you plant that food, and the animal ain't thinking about you when it come raided all the time and you got to plant more or whatever the case. Yet it's something that both of y'all are involved in, and both of y'all can frustrate each other even when y'all doing it, y'all ain't have each other in mind. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of times things could be happening before y'all even figure each other out. It could be times you don't grow nothing in an animal, like what's going on here? It could be times that you ain't, before you even knew it was an animal eating it, every time you grow something, it's gone. And you got to figure out, damn, why is it gone? Like whatever the case may be, right? So it's like that. You don't necessarily have to be aware of each other to be in the same arena to be causing and affecting each other and stuff like that, especially when it comes to the spiritual world and stuff like that. And if y'all can't switch your own space and you ain't powerful enough, you will get warped And when you die, you ain't got nowhere else to go but that hellhole that spirit in and things of that nature and stuff. And then you got to find how to be more relatable and stuff like that to even escape. Because spirits be trying to be born. And if a spirit was doing this a whole bunch of times and they ain't never learned a lesson and stuff like that, they still think they alive. So you could be like a good dream for them out of 100 nightmares that they had just by the way you think. But by you being alive, your silver tethering cord, the way you think, is still attached to your organs that it condense and make. So you're able to keep producing in different type of angles, different type of directions, in a different type of way. So it gets to have a dream like it was alive and experience something new through you without knowing it though. You know what I'm saying? It's like a dazzle and distressed spirit and stuff like that. And you done got warped up in that motherfucker. Depending on how much that spirit did, it don't know nothing yet. Like as far as this aspect of life I'm talking about. So it could just very well just be trying to have a good dream again by the sacrifice of you being in your space and you trying to live in your life. And the way that your circumstances is for you to even do something that it can play out and create negative situations because it know that you're going to react a certain way that places you in the same situation that it wish it was alive, but not knowing that it's dead or alive. It's just a life type of thing. You see what I'm saying? So it's deep. Your mind, you don't see it as a cloud, wind, or breath, but that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. You have to emanate more thoughts, and the more thoughts and feelings you emanate, it condense and be your particular breath. You know what I'm saying? That's why when you're not mixing with others and stuff like that, you're still able to breathe, but eventually you'll end up suffocating. But you're still able to breathe and pump and stuff like that. You're just separated from the connection of everybody. The spirit created a mind, and our first bodies is connecting to create this world. Then it bends in, and then you have your own physical extension of that when it comes in, be the fleshly fluid of it. So you're connected to everything that's connected to you. You're supposed to be able to see that. So everybody you connected to, if y'all share the space, and that space has similar ways y'all gonna make y'all mathematic shapes of thoughts. So when y'all all make something, y'all all have a shared thing there. So you're supposed to always be able to see that, even when you're not around individuals and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? That's a reality. And when y'all don't be seeing that, that's how y'all be getting backstabbed, taken advantage of, and stuff like that. Having people play games with you and not being able to be one step ahead of them and stuff like that. It takes some way deeper stuff that you have to start expecting this same type of stuff on. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, once you're dealing with spirits and fighting spirits and stuff, that's real fighting spirits right there though. When you in certain spaces and spirits trying to be born the same way you was born, and spirits that don't know, that's real fighting spirits right there. And it manifests as your physical situations, as stuff you do, stuff happen to you, and things that's just you have to wear it, but you're not necessarily the cause of it, but you're the only representation of the cause, and you're the only one who getting the effects of it and stuff like that. That's a spiritual battle. You know what I'm saying? And that's a deep thing right there, because a lot of individuals don't know your spaceship is the mind, the thought and feeling. So it takes you to the direction where your spiritual space and all of our spaces can travel, and y'all don't know how to travel. So you don't know how to make up your mind in the most simple way as possible. You know what I'm saying? You think, oh, how do I make up my mind? Then you go through a whole bunch of books and studies about something you just did. You just made up your mind to be lost. You just made up your mind to think you don't know what it means to make up your mind. You make your mind. So if you pissed off, make your mind not to be pissed off. The harder it is to do that, the more you put yourself in a space, manifested a mind state with too many thoughts and feelings that you got to fight. So you just got to spend a little bit more time fighting. Eventually you'll get out of it, but there is no other way to explain what you're doing. You see what I'm saying? And when you know that's what you're doing and don't go down that hole, that's the abyss. When you know what you're doing, but you think it's this. Then you know what you think it's that, but then you think it's that. That's going deep to try to make something simple. No, you make something simple first, then go deep. Therefore, you know you ain't went deep first and then try to make something simple already in the abyss. Ain't no telling what box of toys you in. But for the most part, when you make something simple first, I know these are toy boxes, then you could go deep. All right, any toy box I go in, whether it's the DC comics, whether it's the Marvel comics, whether it's the Barbie dolls, whatever, the feminist world, but whatever world I go into or whatever like that, I know what's going to be the main Barbie doll god, Thanos god, Darkseid god, or whatever the case may be. But I know I'm dealing with toys. Other than you going deep first, then go simple, you might be in a Marvel comic box, you might be in a feminine box, red pill box, Barbie Ken doll box. You know what I'm saying? You might be in a, you know what I'm saying, DC comic box, toys in the damn basement for the kids and stuff, right? So the only thing you know is how to defend Darkseid. Then soon somebody from the Marvel comic box talk about Thanos or whatever, nah, that's the devil. Soon somebody, some feminist or red pill from the Barbie and Ken doll box with the little Lassie dog and the Dream Doll Mansion House. As soon as they come out and start talking about, no, God is a woman. You know what I'm saying? Now you got a battle for the rest of your life and stuff on some damn Toy Story movie in your mind. You know what I'm saying? A Toy Story movie in your mind. I don't know about that. So this is just good comprehension skills beyond religion. I'm spiritual and I like to make these things examples. But anything, even coming into decision-making qualities on what classes you're going to decide to make, even if you're going in college. It's so often I hear individuals, I went to this, but I wish I ain't take this class. I went to this, but I just took this class for that. You know what I'm saying? I just took this class because my mom said this, or my auntie said that, or whatever. My grandmother went to this class. My grandfather was, you know what I'm saying? Some stuff like that, which ain't nothing wrong with that. But the reason why I'm breaking that down is because I'm talking about it at an instance of it already being 5 years too late. It already being 7 years too late. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. You could have thought about that when you know what I'm saying? So I'll talk about like when you jumping into these things, better comprehension skills for your decision-making qualities and being aware, because, you know, even little stuff like consideration, that goes a long way. And you think consideration just has something to do with your biases and you interacting with individuals, and, you know, sometimes you get taken advantage of, sometimes you don't, so you have to consider what you're going to be considerate to or whatever the case may be. But you have to look at that energy beyond your bias or whatever, and you'll be able to see how it saves you in other areas of life. It broadens your awareness in other areas of your life and things of that nature, and compare and contrast in the previous areas of your life. If you would have had it in that broader way of looking at it, you would have been able to see what not to be able to be considerate to, and what not to be around to be getting taken advantage of and things of that nature, or whatever the case may be. Because sometimes you don't even consider yourself, and you'll be able to look at situations in your life previously you ain't consider yourself and your thought and what you had to go, what you tried to get on your 1-2 about. You see what I'm saying? So, peep gang. But when we start talking about clouds, right? I wanted to break that down because we make synthetic versions, like basically what you just seen. That's a synthetic version. We burn wood and stuff, but we learn that from the internal seed we make and how we ferment the seed. And when we ferment in seeds, right, that's visions. And vision is an internal fire, right? Because anytime we see something being able to process and germinate and then start to grow, we see that in reality. What makes it different than that coming from an essence of something that we can't do nothing else unless we do that. You know what I'm saying? So for the most part, this is how we're emanating the process of a cloud in the first place. And to see a cloud takes this process to come in and become a motion, water, and then evaporate, emotionless. And you could put new life in that position that previous one was there, that's no longer there. So that's letting you know there's an observer in that position, the spirit, which is an individual spirit, is a soul, an individual spirit, and you emanate, right? And that's what you creating as a thought or whatever, and then it has life. And then once it condenses, that life is like light, but then it condenses and become light as a cloud. But then if you get too heavy, it become a thunderstorm inside of you. I got the blues, like you just got cheated on or something, like, and things of that nature, right? So for the most part, if we can even see physically you going through these situations, you can tear up. All right, that's God showing you something. That's God showing you something. You see what I'm saying? What's going on inside of you is the same goddamn thing what's going on outside of us. It's just outside of us, it's the team. Teamwork makes the dream work. So we're seeing all of our internal versions as one thing. And we're seeing the mechanisms play out as one thing, but the mechanisms play out as many transitions. That's why you can't have one without the other. Can't have left without right. Can't have up without down. You see what I'm saying? You can't have externalizing without internalizing. So you have to learn the spirit. The spirit ain't none of these things. is just the observer. And you're always going to have these experiences. So you have mental experiences and physical experiences. Until you understand that the mental is condensing to become the physical, that's when you're going to really understand life. You know, that's when you're going to really get it. You're going to really get why you feel the adrenaline and upbeat some days and feel the adrenaline and or don't feel the adrenaline and upbeat some other days. And then the only thing you got to point to is what collection of thoughts and feelings you had those days and what collection of thoughts and feelings you had the other days you've had upbeat. So you have thoughts and feelings that make you erect, and you have thoughts and feelings that get you sucked in and stuff like that. That's a mechanism on its own without a bias. Those forms of expansion, contraction, brightness, dimness, distance, closeness, expansion, contraction, explosion, condensing. You see what I'm saying? These are just mechanisms. And once you understand, you could get lost into one or the other process and start to determine what's overall after a process have already been in its ending stages. This is where you're living backwards, or you're living for the flesh without knowing it. And then you get into comfort zones in your physical life and think you're doing the right thing, still spiritually doing the wrong thing. Ain't that about it? It get deep like that, though. It get deep. You know what I'm saying? Now, but for the most part, like I said, hey, ha, ho, you, he. And then that breaks us down to the patakachamana, badasalaga, Yahlahuè, ah. Then you transition that down into like more 7 other letters and things of that nature. And you got the maska, and then you got the mamas, and you got the ta. You know what I'm saying? So that even takes us down to even the language with the Aztecs and things of that nature. So like the tato and all these things of that nature. But other than that, just break it down to 7 languages and stuff like that, brought from the gods' languages or the Indios' language. But for the most part, like I said, now there's a group of clouds on the east that condenses to produce the sun, aka the child of that process. So the sun is a child of that process. There's already a process mechanism happening, so we can always have that emanation, and then everybody get to experience that emanation on their time zone on a macro and a micro scale. Spring, summer, fall, winter, macro, micro, AM, PM. And then for the most part, everybody have their time zone. So if everybody not experiencing it at the same time, that let us know transitioning is happening. So that let us know it's not the sun ain't traveling or whatever the case may be. It's being emanated and everybody having their turn to experience facing the east. So when we're having a solar eclipse, right, that's us facing the area of this emanation that's happening on a mass scale. So it's not a blocking out of the sun. It's just like the hot cloud, and there's so many clouds. It's like if you're having a rainy day one day, but it was daytime, so the clouds blocked out the sun. You're just seeing that on a more macro scale. So that's a solar eclipse. We're just facing the east. A lunar eclipse is a full moon. You're just able to see the full reflection, which is the atmospherical light that we're calling the moon, and you're able to see the full reflection of the atmosphere that's the sun being emanated. Someone else is still having spring and summer. Someone else is still having daytime. So I'm saying your time, though, based upon geographical location being small and spread it out, like the clouds spread out from the sun and condense and die and then regenerate on that cycle also. This is what we do also, and things of that nature. So the full moon is a lunar eclipse. You're just facing 180 degrees via time zone away from facing the east, what would be a solar eclipse. So you're facing completely away. So you're able to see the full reflection of the sun still being emanated and the atmosphere is causing the moon. Now, as you still rotate, you're going to catch phases to not being able to see the full moon anymore. You're going to see it to being all the way to half, to crescent, to all the way being a new moon. So it's really just you're not seeing the reflection no more when it's a solar eclipse. See what I'm saying? And then and if we're having a partial one, you still can see the moon. So that's the only reason it's like that, and you're never seeing the sun and moon go some alignment like they're a star or got their own mind or whatever the case may be. No, we're seeing a mechanism happen same way how we see clouds be produced. You see what I'm saying? We're just seeing a macro, micro concept. So you have to understand now, all the clouds is coming from the sun. If you didn't understand that either. So based upon the cycle, you could be in a continent and a city, and a specific city and a state that are clustered clouds collected, condensing, and in your city is going to rain compared to someone else might have scattered clouds, or geographical location may have little to no clouds, or not enough clouds to condense to rain to experience that death. That's why even if a human died that a lot of individuals cared about, all those spirits is emanating negative thoughts and feelings by necessity of the experience. So it ain't intentional negativity, but that brings all y'all clouds to come together and it rained. It rained that day. Y'all did that. You know what I'm saying? So that's the real talking about. That type of, you see what I'm saying? The thoughts and feelings create the substance world. Hold on, let me refresh this. So that's how you understand that and stuff. Somebody said what proof. I shouldn't even looked at the chat. You know what I'm saying, I ain't know you need proof for clouds and stuff like that. Or if you talk about proof of the name being, the reason why the name is Yah, because it's towards the east. Yay, we say yay, that's closer to the heart. Yah, that's closer to the mind. Ho, that's pushing from inside more outwardly or whatever. So it'd be a representation if you want to make a word about it, about things that's outside of you, or things you resist, or things inside that you're trying to present outwardly or whatever. He, you know, that's getting into the gut or whatever like that. So from an internal perspective, when you broaden that, he, ha, ho, hu, he, the essence of that will be on a macro scale. So east, where this east, hey, north, ha, west, ho, and then we even actually see things that we name in these processes in the same way. We call east, hey, east, ha, mind, time, fly. It's cold, ho, yo, you know what I'm saying? Things mold, things froze, you know what I'm saying? He, deep, see, me, because we underneath that, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So however you want to correlate it, you have to understand those who are constructing languages, even from your lineage or whatever the case may be, was at the round table like my people was to construct languages, and it's the mind frame people are in, not whatever you in, you know what I'm saying? Where you have to use the language to need proof of something that a language have created based off falsity. For an example, God itself means something without the term God, but in English terminology, God is replaced to explain something that may be broader than the term and the language. And then you hear God, and then you need proof because you're up under a whole manuscript of something that don't even have anything to do with nothing else but your language and understanding. You know what I'm saying? Where your language and understanding come from someone trying to understand something broader, and God was just one of the things that they was picking out to describe. They was picking a lot of words and describing a bunch of other things. Math, you know what I'm saying, as a language, precision, you know what I'm saying, order and calculating the land and the precision of the sun movement and stuff like that to know what best area to cultivate the land at, what best structures is going to be best based on certain areas being moist, certain areas not being moist, being next to certain areas that's fruitful and stuff like all that counts. You see what I'm saying? That and then when you get something done and you and your family and tribe and stuff see it's more positive or more relatable and sync with something like that, you ain't gonna have no choice but to be like you tapped into something. Whether you call it God, spirituality, those who was here before you, spiritual predecessor, however. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna be talking about, let's put it in some science lab and try to find it, and let's get on a boat and travel to far, far to the east, whatever Uriel talking about. You missed the direction I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? You can only find physical representations, and the closest thing you're gonna find that way, I'm still right, a cloud. And the only substance you come from in its most lightest stage is gonna be a cloud. And if you try to debunk me from that, you really lost. And you better not be using my tax dollars for them studies. All right, but look, check this out. Like I said, right? So when we get into so there's a group of clouds on the east that condenses, right, to produce the sun, aka the child of that process. And out of those group of clouds, with one spirit, it's one spirit in them that's the main leader, cloud, Yah, right? The mind, aka the cloud of Yah, the cloud of that spirit that's inside of that mind, that space, because every space relative. To have one, you can't have one space without the other. So what's separating space? the forms within it. So you got your mind and body, and then we have deteriorated and expired objects as far as the land, trees, and things of that nature to actually show you what your spiritual predecessors and ancestors was dealing with, from lighter stages of reality to the condensed reality that you're in at the moment right now. But it's this condensity levels we in. Your mind state is a lesser condensed level, but you experience that, and you can express it with the heavier condensed level, your body. But these are phases. You know what I'm saying? But when you separate it and think they're one or the other and don't understand one is becoming the other and it's a process that you have to keep up, then this is where you start to think things outside of you is supposed to help you or whatever, where you have to put in the process. You have to put in the energy work and mix it in the right areas, the sweet spots, the sweet nature spots in the esoteric world, the right thought that's in sync with this thought that's relatable, that can condense to become this feeling that'll ride you in, to have the adrenaline to lead you in the right physical situation. See what I'm saying? So here's the thing. Now the mind, aka the cloud of Yah, has the most emanation that becomes the most nutrient, cell salts, and minerals and substance that ultimately becomes the thought process of survival for us. So when we get you sit, like, look at it like this. Let's say we're a group of spirits. I emanate a thought, so that's my first body to separate my space from your space, right? But when we doing this mechanism play out as something on its own. Teamwork makes the dream work. The thing we all about to be in. Now I got my thing that I added to that I'm already inside of. You got your thing, your mind. So we inside the mind already before that condense and become physical nature. All right. And look at it like this. In this process, whatever we doing, that teamwork makes the dream work, produce that world. You know what I'm saying? The yellow world, right? So that's the set fire to the blue world. So we setting fire to the blue world right now, the Muskaki world. You know what I'm saying? So now so when we get to the blue and the blue-green world or whatever the case may be, is turning that way because it's getting set to the fire, right? So that'd be the Muskakia. My bad, not the Muskakia, right? When it turn red. But once it's set on flame or whatever, right? That's visions. There's a collection of visions. Now the visions are like mustard seeds that become the reality before it condense and become what was thought of to be dirt, sand, grass, or this type of ideology or this type of intention or however the case may be, right? Now, for the most part, if you know you need the sun and you made of light, you're a condensed version of a collection of those thoughts and feelings or whatever the case may be. So the spirit that was emanating the most thoughts and feelings just on its own, not having you in its mind, a person trying to be themselves, personification, the spirit trying to be themselves might just go harder than others. So it'll become the lead central attention that others can mimic in their own way, that always make new bodies, new glorified bodies. That's how we get new seasons or whatever the case. So this is God teaching us that we always hear, and we always able to make new minds and new bodies, right? This is how we get new species and all this other type of stuff and things of that nature, right? So it just so happens in this area, we are made on the highest or more on the percentage scale of this spirit, Yah, in that area when it comes into the mineral substance and that ultimately become the thought processes of survival for us. Now, you could do these things negative or positively, more relatable or in sync, but just that nature itself, that's where it comes from. And then for the most part, in that midst of many other spirits inside of that thought process and bodies, aka clouds, based off who was most lit, we all have a higher percentage scale of the thoughts condensing into fleshly fluids, water, wind, and stuff like that, right? Of the Yah figure. You know what I'm saying? Than any other of those mental spiritual entities. Mental, the body, spirit, the thing that's in it, entity, with that thing, would it be, or whatever the case, right? So this is what's springing off intentions. For an example, spring ain't just happening and then it flies somewhere else. The sun ain't just happening and y'all think the sun travel and go somewhere else, right? You see spring, summer, fall, winter, as in all the many things of life, right? This is based off intention, right? But y'all don't understand intention itself. Y'all get in a biased intention, and then when y'all create what your highest mind subjective is, it become what you're considering a God, and then you give it a human intent, and then your gods that y'all describe don't be nothing but something with human natures or human thoughts or whatever the case may be, because it really came from a human mind. But you have to understand, we all have the ability to think, but we don't all have a human mind. A monkey don't think like a human. A gorilla, alligator don't think like you, but it has a mind. A bacteria. So we just have to understand, spirits create minds, not getting lost in the subjective concept of your mind and think every other thing is supposed to have your mind. So I'm saying is you're getting retarded and stuff like that. So you have to be careful and stuff because there's things that just live in the mind. So if something ain't in the flesh yet, it's in the mind. So when you be in your mind, you can see it. You just don't know how to interpret it with your senses or whatever. So it can be born through you. If you having sex or whatever the case may be, it could be influencing you to do things because you already have those type of thoughts in you anyway to be in that area and stuff like that. So this is how it play out. You have to make these things simple. These same things y'all be pointing to get lost. The reason why you call it pseudo is because of the formations y'all get lost in about it. But if you make it simple, you'll be able to understand what's going on with you 24/7. But for the most part, because you always striving to have a better thought process to what you already doing. But if you don't currently got that thought process already, okay, you're getting it from something outside of you. But you working towards so you can get it. So that would be your work. You exercising your mind as a spirit, jumping in your thought, creating more feelings, gas for that thought spaceship. And if it's the right type of in sync thought that's relatable, it goes in that direction with other spirits that has that same type of cloud spaceship. And if it's a spirit there that have been there and done that, which you're already doing, and can have way better ways of doing it, then you piggyback off that idea. It ain't like that. It's intentionally gonna tell you, hey, this is what you do, child. You're experiencing it. And then when you take your half to get you there, that's you taking one step, God take another. You amongst spirits that have been there and done that, and you're able to see a better way of you doing what you already do because somebody already put their footprints in the sand there. So boom, you're able to now fit a bigger spiritual shoe size. You know what I'm saying? So you're able to bring some new gadgets, and now you're able to be more sufficient at what you was doing. And if it was something positive in the first place, you get to those areas faster. If it's something negative, right, you meet detriment or working for Haël'Ho faster and stuff like that. Which sometimes you get monetary gains. There's a small portion of heaven in all areas. But at the same time, you just take in more of the deterioration and expired forms and mimic it as it being the birth and the life aspects of it, it being the spring or the summer aspects of it. Then when it start to get into a shady space like fall and winter again, you start to create faulty ways to try to make it always light, try to make it always seen. And this is where ego come from also and stuff like that. People who participate in those kind of weird energies or the type of qualities that a person who can't make their own vibe have to survive off pre-existing vibes and other people who's making vibes already without understanding that's what it is. A collection of thoughts and feelings are vibes. So you have a certain thought, certain feeling, you do certain things after it with your body. But that's also your blood, your adrenaline also. And when you lack vibe, you lack thoughts and feelings, you lack movement. So you end up having to fulfill an area because spirit's always naked trying to fulfill in that empty spot, a mind, their first body. So you end up needing to overcompensate in another area for the lack of another area. And if based on percentage scale, that's how far it go. If you lack a whole bunch of percentage scale of something that's a quality, that's a necessity for a spirit to need to be in this world, then you go extreme on the other end to get it outwardly to replace it inwardly. But you still lack your own organ fruitfulness. Your organ is not getting replenished with new blood because you're not making new thoughts and feelings. You see what I'm saying? You're in some pre-existing ones, and eventually it's going to be hard for your breath. And individuals who get deep into this and make businesses out of this always end up having lung issues, always end up having throat issues, they always end up losing their voice, and their voice end up being Krusty Krab or Kermit the Frog when they ain't sound like that 10 years ago at the beginning of their career. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times it play out through, it be spokespeople be lying the most, so it play out through these type of people a lot. But that's how that be happening. You gotta go to the hospital a lot of times. You be like, why is this happening? And here, it's not that God actually punishing you, but spiritually you in a space and you're not understanding the makeup of life, the mechanism that God do too. And since God do that better than you, God not about to be around to tell you how to do it. That's like you being a different organ system. And let's say bears couldn't swim and you a human. You ain't about to care. You just about to teach another human how to swim. You ain't never about to get into the mind frame of why you think you need to teach a bear how to swim. And vice versa. Whatever the bear doing. If the bear know how to swim and the human don't know how to swim, the bear ain't never about to get in no situation to teach the human how to swim. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of the bear see the human struggling, y'all just share the existence, different worlds, different minds that bend in and become different organ structures. So since we're doing something similar, yeah, we may have similar things we could create. A mind, thoughts that create, maybe brains, hearts, fingers and stuff. That's about it. So when y'all be getting into this common ancestor monkey stuff, I stop that. What's wrong with y'all? So do we all got common ancestors? Because we all got brains? And then what would separate us from having a common ancestor from the jellyfish or someone without a brain? So then we just have to get into organs. Do we all got a common ancestor because we all make organs? Because we all got an organ. I don't care what you, bacteria, species. You know what I'm saying? Okay, and then once you get into that, you're going to have to slide away from what you thought was scientific and call that pseudo. Get more into a philosophical aspect as frame of thought. So then we can start replacing it with some real type of conscious talk and really test studies and stuff and come up with some cures and stuff like that. Because it's easy to come up with cures and stuff. All you got to know is what you made out of. So that already let you know half of the illnesses are created. So when we get into like diabetes, cancer, especially STDs, if you really tapped into God will show you a natural illness and a chemical illness. God show you that, because when you have a regular illness, there's natural cures. Thought-wise, that bend in and become physical-wise. Even if there's physical actions you have to do all the way to the exercising. You know what I'm saying? Anytime something just sporadically come into be in existence, but it wasn't here since the beginning, and then you need a human assistance, that's a human creating it and creating the assistance for it, for you to need it. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like a insurance plan for somebody's bank account or something. Let's create this sickness and create the medicine for it. So therefore, they always got to buy the medicine from a sickness we created, kind of. You know what I'm saying? So when you think about lab rats and test studies and stuff like that, these are things to get prepared for things, get ready to get tested on y'all. But when you got a natural illness, right? There's always a cure. There's always a cure. Don't ever think that. It's just a lot of y'all at this moment, due to the fact of colonization, a lot of y'all ain't got natural illnesses. All the way down to eating too much bread and stuff like that. Bread don't dissolve in your gut. You know what I'm saying? It don't. Go get some bread. Bread could be good every now and then, but when you do that every day, especially wheat and all that, go get some bread and pour some fluids on there. Whether it's water, whether it's even alcohol. Right, water, sauce, any type of sauce, food sauce, the bread gonna soak it up like a sponge. I'm saying that, so don't nothing remain but the bread. So when you eat, what's inside your body, your bloodstream, nothing remain but the bread. You start drying up. You start getting that buttercream waistline. That oven baked muffin. Yeah, you start get the oven baked muffin. You know what I'm saying? You know, when the bottom of your leg pant size is 19 and your waist size is 52 or 54. Yeah, I'm walking around Christmas tree, Ozempic Rick Ross pill. Oh, man. You're like, well, I can't get rid of this. There ain't even fat you got to get rid of. It don't matter how much fat you get rid of. It's something else sagging around. Bread. So I'm telling y'all, be careful. I'm telling you, be careful. Ain't not, you could like do it, but moderation. Learn moderation. I'm saying learn moderation. And you'll be all right. But that be a main thing. Because what do bread turn into? Leave bread out for a long time. Tell me what it turned into. Yeast. All right. So once yeast deteriorate, it's dead bacteria. You got mold inside your body and stuff. So walk into an old building that no one renovated for a long time and smell the mold. Yeah, that's inside your body. that's inside your body. So you got all kind of like fumes and stuff that like pours way in your bloodstream, pours way in other areas that it ain't supposed to be because it ain't digest through the area it was supposed to digest through. So it's going in other pockets of your body. All kind of other areas and stuff like that, and now you ill and cramped up and stuff like that, and a doctor can't really point that type of stuff out. Ain't no radiation thing could point that out. You know what I'm saying? They can just tell you something and ease the pain with other stuff. But truly, the only thing that burns stuff like that out is exercising, and hopefully you ain't go overboard. Because you no longer got a natural illness at that point. You got a synthetic illness at that point. No one told you to put that much in your body. You see what I'm saying? That's foreign. And you might be like, that don't sound right, whatever the case may be. I eat natural. Well, go find me a bread tree. Go find me a bush or flower bread grow off of. Until you can do that, then that's when I listen to what you know what I'm saying? That's what I listen to what you're talking about. I'm saying. But yeah, like I said, get back into the cloud energy and stuff like that, right? So when it comes into based off who's most lit in that area amongst the clouds and stuff, yay, right? This is what's even making us have this type of knowledge to have us on our mind. This is how people get attention through word of mouth. But this is the voice without a word, or whatever the case may be, or without a sound, right? So based off who most lit, we all have a higher percentage scale of the thought conditioning to flesh fluids. And that spirit is one of a kind, but that spirit be making like a 5-pointed being. You know what I'm saying? So there's many other beings and stuff like that that even copy it, but ain't quite it. So that's why you could have an animal that may not be erect, but it's still a 5-pointed being, got a head, 2 arms, 2 legs. You know what I'm saying? But with the point, the 2 feet, the 2 hands, and the head, or whatever the case may be. But it's purely copying a spirit that's more lit, more vibe, more attractive, more attraction, or whatever. But attraction in this area play out as relatable and in sync. The more relatable and sync you are, whatever thought you created and emanated from your spiritual space, that relatable and sync thought, others rather be relatable and sync the best way they can in that way. You see what I'm saying? So it's like that. So when you find that energy, here's how you could be an ugly muck duck down here on earth. But if you do what I just told you to do, you'll still attract people. No matter if it's through whatever you did physically, even if it ain't no talent. Someone will call you beautiful. You're only beautiful in their mind. But that's something, you want to be handsome in their mind, in your mama's mind. But at the same time, hey, you got some fairness in this world. You ain't alone. You know what I'm saying? But that's how it play out. You know what I'm saying? So it don't have nothing to do with the ego. I'm the thing I created. No, I'm the thing that know how to create these things. And if I don't want to use that, I don't got to use it. Not I'm the thing I created, and when y'all don't like the thing I created no more, I'm gonna have a fit. That's wrong. That's Lucifer, like wrong. It ain't Lucifer either. Y'all don't got a lot of words for me to explain to y'all when spirits go the opposite direction. Lucifer didn't necessarily do that. That's a different French type of thing. Not French, Spangler. I don't even get into all that. But what I'm talking about, it got nothing to do with that. But it do got something to do with what we all get to experience. And that's why I say Lucifer, because that's something that you're familiar with and you know the context of it. Somebody going in a different direction that ain't had nothing to do with what God wanted. So it's a mechanism, though. It ain't no intent. The intent there, you have to broaden the intent, though. What you consider what's intent. I could have the intent to put my shoes on, but to put my shoes on is sacrificing something else. Let's say like let's just make a bad day. A bacteria was in my shoe. You know what I'm saying? Then me having intentions to put on my shoe for the sacrifice of the intentions that whatever died, it had nothing to do with mine. I didn't have intentions to kill it. You see what I'm saying? If you want to look at it like that. So I don't want y'all devilish minds to be thinking, oh, so this is how I should think when I'm a murderer, or this is how I should think if I'm a colonist. No, it ain't got nothing to do with these things. I'm teaching intent itself, not to use intent, modify it, and however you get ready to use it, and now people think this is life. No, you know what I'm saying? We talk about learning things as is, and we try our best to do these things in the most relatable and sync way, because we know without relatability and then sync energy, nothing will work. You know what I'm saying? So if God used the relatable and sync energy for all things to be in its natural order, then if I can't find it, I need to set myself out of whatever I'm participating with until I'm able to find that aspect in myself. Then I'll be able to participate. You know what I'm saying? And that's how God sits you on the bench. God sits you on the bench like that. But physically, you could not listen to God and get in all kind of bull crap in your life and stuff like that. And then you'll really be needing something. But you always know you're dealing with stuff. You just don't know how to break it down. And you lost in what you think intentions is based upon your bias and your human interactions and how y'all tend to interact with each other. Your intentions ain't like that on a broader scale. What one thing it tend to do may affect you, not necessarily having you in mind. So you could be relatable. Let's say game bangers on the West Coast ain't really got you in mind, but you go cosplay real quick. You go over there, you don't wear a certain hat, or you blend in and wear a certain hat in an area that the other gang members ain't in real quick. That was your actions or whatever, right? But it wasn't necessarily like something else attended something for you. You just did something the right way when you was there. Kind of like when you swimming. You got people who don't know how to swim, people who do know how to swim. It ain't something there intending to be like, you don't know how to swim or you know how to swim or whatever. You just there, and a person who don't know how to swim shouldn't even be there in the first place if they got possibilities of drowning or ain't trying to learn how to swim or just going to the 6 feet or whatever the case may be. So you swimming across the 12 feet and stuff like that, that was your decision. Yet you're in an arena. Other people have possibilities to be able to do that. Other people who probably can't do that, that's probably there, and people who ain't got no business there that may try or whatever the case may be. So it's like you had your own intent. But if you did your own intent, the most relatable in sync relative to the situation, all right, you did it right. See what I'm saying? So your intent was to swim, and if you swim the way a body's supposed to swim to make sure it don't drown, then you did that right. It wasn't something there intentional, whether you knew how to swim or not, and based upon what you done, it's gonna make you drown. Or based upon you did good, it's gonna make sure you know how to swim. It's not that type of intent. It's all on you. It's like all on you. And if you don't understand that, it could be a lot of things you're doing in the physical right now that in the spiritual world, you can't swim. It's just in the physical, you ain't experiencing the full context of that reality yet. So even though you're running away from something and covering something else to be something else, you got grace because you alive. So you just wake up every day like you think you're going to wake up tomorrow, and whatever you do wrong, you think you'll make up for it or something, like, pay for it. But God don't charge that way. And you're not going to pay in that type of way you're thinking physically. And it don't matter if you're physical or not. You're still dealing with that. You know what I'm saying? For you to feel remorse and think you have to pay for something in the first place, you already getting your spiritual ass kicked. You know what I'm saying? So if you ain't got no flesh and the external representations for you to even piggyback on to worship the flesh and be like, well, I solved it because I paid, or I solved it, or whatever the case may be. All right, that's what God wants you to deal with. That mental thing that made you lead into the decision to make you think paying will make it go away or not in the first place. The first thing, that first mind state, deal with that and figure out how to get more relatable and sync so you don't even have to be in a situation spiritually, that space, to make the mind state that may develop remorse, that you have to do external physical things to replace from what your spirit is lacking, not being in this rightful space it's supposed to be in the first place, to be fulfilled. You see what I'm saying? So we all have to find that fulfilled energy, but it's up to us. You have to know how to spiritually swim. You got to fly that spaceship. And when you're around others, you got to fly your spaceship for yourself and others like you're on the road physically. Drive for yourself and others. Just because you could get up and be like, I'm a good NASCAR driver, doesn't mean ultimately the cause of your accident ain't because somebody else was on the road retarded and drunk. You know what I'm saying? So you got to peep game. But, yeah, so it's not necessarily the intentional concept of the purpose of others being in mind for gratification. But intentions is a broad language that can be learned from, especially when it comes to biases and knowing how to not take everything through the filtering of your own biases and stuff like that. So you'll be able to see the overall aspect, be able to deal with your own bias, being able to deal with the micro outside of you biases, and be able to make a general perception of what's actually going on based on your participation. So ultimately, just breaking down all this stuff. Are we already an hour in? Damn. Well, I'm going to do a part 2 so I can go a little deeper on mental health, because that was the whole disclaimer. I ain't know it was going to take an hour. For real, because all I did was piggyback off what I wrote. And I know me piggybacking off of what I was just gonna write. That was just really 10 minutes if I just would have went through it. My bad. But it's the disclaimer too. What the mental actually is. It's your first body, and that's what you need to exercise. And when it's weak, the things you're doing with the physical may not always be able. Your mind may not always be able to endure it. And a lot of times, this shows us the examples of everything being in reverse. What you think you're doing good physically could be wrong spiritually, based on the first body you in spiritually as your soul. You're in your first body called the mind. And it be things that you didn't was in a spiritual space that you made a mind that manifested in the physical that looked like a common norm, that still in the spiritual world you could get tired of upholding that mind state and want to make another mind state, but can't, because in the physical it can sacrifice everything that comes from that ideology and physical ideas. So it becomes a challenge. Your spirit is in a bondage and it's feeling caged in, and it's not able to stretch out to be erect to gain more strength. So you can only be weakened, but in the physical world it play out as you having to be strong. See what I'm saying? Everything is in reverse. When you look at everything in reverse, you'll start to realize, oh, my mind and my body is a mirror. And when I express it outwardly, I'm projecting. And then we're just creating a whole bunch of reflections of each other, of things that we think going on. But that's not really it. So once you start to understand that, you'll be like, oh, okay, now I know that I don't have to uphold so much stuff. If I'm a spirit that make these ideas, I stay in that space. That's what makes me a creator. Then that bends in and become in the physical of a whole bunch of things I can stand on. And I don't have to be in one of these things that when I got lost into a mind state and it manifested as the common norm, it looked like I won't be anything without that thing. And see, spirits get talked at by Haël'Ho and negative and demonic spirits that got lost in that opposite direction ego thing. I am what I created, not I am the thing that know how to create. See what I'm saying? And y'all got to know how to separate the two. Because even in this world, these spirits know how to do way more than you. So you could be getting intelligent as ideas from that spirit, though. And eventually you will start to see the more assistance outwardly that spirit make you need. That means it need others to feed off of. And you was just one of the vessels that it was feeding off of that had more abilities to get up more others than someone else it probably was in on its own attentions. And based upon what you was getting outwardly, put you in a situation of thinking that this is the right thing to do, which ultimately put wear and tear on your spirit. Because you start questioning and thinking that, do you have to even do these extreme things? And is it even worth it? And things of that nature. And then that's when you know you're not living for yourself beyond what you could physically see as representations and things of that nature. And that takes us into the spiritual world. And those spirits make you weak when and convince you you're strong through the fleshly fluid. You know what I'm saying? And you'll be going through all kind of internal fights and battles and things of that nature. I was gonna get into all that, but I'm gonna do a part 2 for that and stuff like that. Yeah, y'all gotta peep game, not separate. And then when it comes to the mental health, you gotta build that strength up, because you're dealing with spirits as you are one, and ones that's just in minds at the moment, trying to be born, ones that was already born, trying to be born again, ones can't be born, spirit too big, and lineages of just like you, ones that's in minds that condensed and alive at the moment that made an organ. You know what I'm saying? So people that already have those thoughts, but it worked for them and not you and stuff. There's like, think about you and let's say you a gang and you took over another area. Then in history, y'all was known about that. It might be wrong things talked about your gang, but at the same time, deep in your heart, you're gonna be like, but this is what my people do though. You know, this is my gang do though. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I ain't did that. You know what I'm saying? At some point, you're gonna take some type of pride towards it. So spirits that's alive all the way in. And if you in a space you don't belong in, you get washed away. You know what I'm saying? Then you dealing with experiences you can't handle, aka you need external assistance with. And that's when you thought something was good at the jump, end up being something that you end up regret, or be careful what you ask for type stuff. And that's what all this strength and mind pump. God want warriors down here to be trained in that area and stuff like that. But y'all just have to know where to fight at the happy hunting grounds. But that's going to be part 2 and stuff like that. So that's going to be building mental strength so y'all can know what mental health is. So y'all don't even sound crazy when y'all speaking in English when y'all say y'all dealing with mental health problems. When someone say mental health, that's like saying you got body health, you healthy. So y'all be saying, when y'all going through something negative, y'all saying positive words. When someone got mental health, they're strong in the spiritual world. Y'all be in the physical, depressed, and saying, yeah, I got mental health issues. That's like someone who got money issues, if I want to mix it into material, like a Kardashian or something. Her biggest issue today is what baby seats and what car she gonna drive. Like, I want them type of issues too and stuff like that. Y'all ain't in it that way. Y'all ain't in a depressing way, and then y'all say y'all got mental issues. Nah. See, it's like these words y'all be speaking and stuff like that. Even the ones that y'all think is good for y'all play out bad for y'all, and the ones that's bad for y'all and stuff like that, it take you into more deeper energies and stuff like that. Then y'all don't even find no goodness. And when you develop your own goodness, your own seed and stuff, you got other people tearing it down. But it play out as it's looked at like it's teared down, but in the spiritual world, they eating it. They eating food off your plate. You made a new fruit that person wasn't paying attention to or nothing, and you gave them an ability to react to something that they can't do. Period. You know what I'm saying? In the spiritual world, they took your plate. You didn't let this person eat your plate. You know what I'm saying? Don't let nobody eat your plate. Stay fruitful, my friends. Stay fruitful. Flight mark, let you know. For sure. You're now listening to the Mind of an Antares Moon. I am the Royal Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry God duties and responsibilities. Recto Swah, Haël'Ho, Yahlahuè. Massasoit, Mama Natoit. Masasaki. Woo!